This video is just one in a series of videos that show how to use Oracle Apex Application Express version 5 to build a prototype application based on a database in Oracle XE. There are earlier versions of this video series for previous versions of Apex. You can work along with the videos by getting the scripts that are used in the first few videos, and the scripts are available at the URL shown, which is case sensitive, so if it has capital D, you need to enter capital D. Your alternative is you can go to the second link and use the contact page to request that the scripts be emailed to you. If you have the scripts, you can work along with the videos. Okay, we're going to now see a very nice feature in Apex that will generate a lookup or reference table based on existing data in a column in another table. So I'm going to log back in as Ashwini, one of the developers. And while I'm here, I want to stop for a minute and look at team development before we do the reference table. So if I go in here to the to-do list, I see so far there are items for Ashwini and Carlo. They each one have 3 open items. I can come in here to reports and get the list and see who it is assigned to and what the task is. However, some of this could be updated right now. Ashwini was to run scripts for sequences and triggers as well as for tables. So I could come in, and I don't have to be Ashwini to do this, but I could come in and say 100% complete and apply that. So I've got on record that this has been done. Then I could do the same thing for, whoops, not that one. Let me go back. Run the script for sequences and triggers. And I can also make that 100% complete. Carlo has imported the data and assigned a uniqueness constraint and populated, so he's done all 3 of these. So as Ashwini, working with Carlo, as we see Ashwini's a contributor, I could update these and show that these to-do items have been completed. So I'll do that here real quick. I'll actually pause the video. You don't need to watch me do each one of these. So the status is now showing 100% complete for everything but the last item. I could come back to the dashboard and I could see that Ashwini still has something outstanding. She's at 67%, whereas Carlo has completed the items in his to-do. So let's go ahead and come to SQL Workshop and Object Browser, because now we're going to do the lookup table. Select Students. And let's look at the data. So for student major, we have information systems, accounting, marketing, computer science. And as you may or may not realize, what we want for things like this, a field like this, is we want to provide a list of options rather than letting people type in different variations on how they might spell or abbreviate something. So we want to create a reference table or a lookup table. So I'm going to go back and select the Table tab. And here, because my window's a little smaller, the Create Lookup Table has dropped down. And it's on the second row. So now I'm going to select that. And this will be fine. The default here, I need to select Student Major as the column. And then I'll click Next. And I can take the default name for the new table as well as the name for the new sequence. And have Apex create the lookup table. So that happened fairly quickly, but Apex has done an awful lot for us here. It has taken the data from the student table and entered in a row for each major currently used in the student table. It has created, the lookup reference wizard has created a primary key. This is a surrogate key, which means it serves solely as the primary key, and it allows for a system-generated unique value from a sequence, and that sequence value is taken via a trigger. We've looked at that in an earlier video, and each time we add a student major, we get a new student major ID. If we come over to students, and actually let me come back here and look real quick. So information systems is 1 and accounting is 3. If we come back to students, now what we see is we no longer see the abbreviation for the major. What we see is the primary key value from the student lookup table. And we see 111, but when we come down here, we see that one of these is an accounting major, which is ID 3. So you got a new table, it was populated, you got a new sequence, you got a new trigger, and after that had been created and and a foreign key added to student for student major ID. Once that student major ID is populated, then the original student major column is removed. So a lot happens with just a few clicks when you use the lookup table wizard. I want to do one other thing though. I want to come to student major and take a look at the table construction. Now, student major has the default of 4,000 characters as variable character. So I'm going to select the right column and change this to something like, let's just say 20. It probably needs to be longer, but we don't have to take that default, which is way too big. Then I can click next and finish. Now the other thing is, when I click constraint, so what I see here are 2 check constraints. Student major ID cannot be null, it's a primary key, and student major cannot be null. We can't add a new record without populating that one column. And then we have our primary key constraint for student major ID. But actually what I also need here, if I look at the data again, is I want to make sure, whoops, the wrong tab, I don't want to ever allow someone to type in ISIS information systems again. So I'm going to come back to constraints, and I'm going to create another constraint like we did in a previous video, and I'm going to change this to unique, and then I will select my column and click next and finish. So the lookup table wizard didn't allow duplicates when it imported the data, but we need to set the constraint to prevent duplicates being added in the future. So now we've got a very useful student major lookup table.